Hello, beautiful people. Hope everybody's had a great week. Thank you guys for listening, for watching, for paying attention. I really appreciate all your feedback and your support. You guys are great. I love all you guys. So thank you for your support. I'm gonna go off script this week. I got some notes written down, but I get sidetracked really easily. So I ramble and rant and go on and on. So not sure where this is going this week, but I want to talk about a couple things. One. Tomorrow is my 6-year anniversary for sobriety, so I haven't had a drink in like 6 years. It's better than my birthday. I like this tomorrow more than I like my own birthday. Kind of got a new lease on life a few years ago. I talked with you guys a little bit about the challenges and struggles I went through with depression and being suicidal and feeling hopeless and things like that. So if somebody would have told me 6 years ago that I would be here today alive at all, I would have doubted that. But if somebody would have told me where I would be where I am today 6 years ago, I would not have believed them. I started my drinking and drugging very early on. I was drinking and not really doing any drugs, but I was drinking, around 12 or 13 years old. So by the time I stopped drinking at 36, I guess it would have been, I'd already been drinking for almost 25 years. Like I said, drinking, drugging, pills, whatever. So I'd been doing it for like 25 years, and that's not a good thing, obviously. To have alcohol and drugs be that big of a part of your life for that long, it's not good for you. Especially the life that comes along with it's not a good thing. So definitely not bragging about the lifestyle, but it was a reality for me. So if somebody would have told me 6 years ago that I would be alive and well today, or be in the situation I'm in today, it would just be unbelievable. I wouldn't have believed them. I probably would have laughed in their face. And with that being said, with that experience, I meet people pretty regular that have been in the same boat that I've been in. So it's people that I can relate to, whether it's other addicts or people with that sort of lifestyle. You kind of just, when you meet people, you just kind of know. And then also people will come to you, people will seek you out, people will find you, whether as a resource or, sometimes they don't realize it, but they're sort of a negative or a bad spirit, and they're sort of in a way trying to entice you to pull you backwards just because they're not strong enough to pull themselves up. They try to pull you in with them. And that's nothing to say, and I'm not saying alcohol is bad. So if anybody gets me going or listens to me and thinks that I'm talking negative about alcohol or people that drink, or I actually really towards the end of my drug and alcohol days, I actually smoked weed more recently than I drank. I stopped smoking weed, I guess, about 3 years ago. And mushrooms and weed was actually kind of more what I did recently, but even that's been over 3 years. So I'm not saying anything bad about alcohol or weed or anything like that. But I had a problem with it. It affected me and impacted my life in a way that it doesn't always affect and impact other people. So I realized and I knew that I had a problem with drugs and alcohol. Not everybody has a problem with drugs and alcohol. So I'm not saying anything bad about people that drink or smoke or anything specific about, people that drink. So I don't want you to take it the wrong way. It was just a problem for me. And I have other issues, and drugs and alcohol compounded my problems and made my issues much heavier than they had to be for me. So once I stopped drinking, it made my issues and problems easier to solve. So not saying anything bad about anybody that drinks. I hang around people and I'm around people that drink. It doesn't bother me. People think that they can't drink around me or they can't smoke around me. I don't have that sort of issue or sort of problem where I'm constantly on edge, like biting my fingernails, like waiting to smoke or drink. That's not the case. I made a very conscious, I can't talk. I made a very conscious decision based on where I was in my life. I thought this through and I thought this out. And this wasn't a decision that I made because I'm constantly on edge trying to drink or trying to smoke. It was I need to do this for me. I need to see what life is like without this because I lived my entire life with it. And I saw where I was and I saw where I was going. I just decided to try something new, try something different. Even at the point where I was I would say the most suicidal I ever was. I got to a point where I don't know if I can't remember if I talked with you all about this or not, but I got to a point where I was so suicidal that I'm a gun owner, so I mean I was contemplating calling my friend to tell him to come to my house and take all my guns away from me. I was calling friends late at night. I don't know that they were all necessarily aware, but I was calling friends late at night, and I would just talk to them on the phone while I was laying in bed until I fell asleep, just because I was just in a state of mind that I was ready to hurt myself. So I don't know if these friends remember that or if they knew, but I was calling them because I couldn't trust myself to be alone. I couldn't even be alone with my own thoughts. I was so desperate and hopeless that I thought I was going to hurt myself. So I was calling friends just to have somebody to talk to. I was trying to put stuff on my calendar just to have stuff to look forward to. I was completely hopeless, and that's nothing I ever wish on anybody. It's a very bad feeling, and I'm sure some people have heard the song or heard the expression that they'd rather feel pain than nothing at all. And that was the bulk of my life. My life was sort of painful. I lived it in a painful way. A lot of people will say, what they would ask me why I chose the hard path, and I didn't realize for a long time that I didn't necessarily choose the hard path. It was that I didn't see two paths. I just always ended up doing things the hard way. So I didn't see things where, hey, this is the easy way, this is the hard way, I'm going to do it the hard way. I just only saw the hard way. And like I said, I made my problems more complicated with drugs and alcohol and, partying, chasing women, stuff like that. So I made my problems, more complicated, and I kept kicking the can down the road and ignoring my issues and problems so I could try to enjoy life, or what I thought was enjoy life. But like I said, by partying and drinking, chasing girls, I thought that was what life was all about. Obviously, you find out sometimes the hard way that that's not what life is all about. And anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but what I was getting at is during this process of living this way, I can only really compare it to if, let's say, you meet somebody that is that's kind of a fitness fanatic. I've never really been into fitness. Obviously, looking at me, you can tell I'm not a fitness fanatic, but some people are born or raised or live that lifestyle, whether it's something that they pick up at a young age or it's in their family, it's in their lifestyle, just something they're interested in. But people that go to the gym on a regular basis, that exercise, it's like a club. They can see each other and understand and relate to each other very easily. They can see somebody of a certain size, certain height, certain weight, and they know just certain things about them, what it took to get in that shape. They see their commitment, they see that their diet's in order, they just kind of can understand each other, and they can see each other at different points in their journey. If somebody's slightly behind another person or slightly ahead of another person, it's not necessarily they look down at each other, but they do look up to each other and try to help each other along the way. And I live my life in a way where I can see things in people that I don't want to see sometimes, especially when it comes to somebody that's struggling or somebody that's an addict. It's really difficult to see somebody that's not doing well. And I mean that like when they're not mentally doing well. Physically, of course, it's bad to see somebody that's not physically doing well. But when you see somebody that's suffering mentally and there's nothing you can do to help them, it is really, really hard to, there's just no words. Like there are no words to touch this person. And I wish I had the words. I wish I had the recipe. I wish I had the right thing to say at the right time. But I know what it's like to be that person. For the better part of 25 years, I didn't care about anything or anybody. I didn't care about myself. I did not care whether I lived or died. Actually, for most of that, I probably would have preferred to die. I lived life fast. I lived life with a death wish. Very, very dumb. Did very, very ignorant, dumb things. And how I made it through all that to this day, I can only say by grace and mercy that I'm alive today. But when I see people. Like I said, I lived 25 years so carelessly and recklessly that I didn't care for myself and other people. So I'll give you an example. This week, I met someone. She is a heroin addict, and we met sort of by chance. She met somebody that I know. She showed up to the store today. She showed up to the store yesterday or Friday. She showed up to the store on Friday, and when she came in, I could tell she was upset. I could tell she had been crying a little bit. But when somebody comes in, you never know. So I just assumed she was there to shop. But when she came in, you know, she said, "Hey, I met your friend so-and-so," and she said that she comes by here and gets a hug, and, you know, I'm just having one of those days where I need a hug. And I was, you know, it feels good that that's, for the way that I live my life for so many years, and I made so many mistakes. I don't know why this is so hard to say. It feels better to be known as the guy that you can go to if you just need a hug. Then it feels much better to be known as that guy than it does to be the guy that is reckless and careless and thinks he's cool and thinks he's tough and drinks and smokes and parties and sleeps around. And maybe that's just a part of growing up. Maybe it's a part of maturity. But I'd much rather be known as the guy that you can go to and have a good cry and have a good hug than the cool, tough guy that is full of himself. So I hope I've made some progress in that area. But anyway, back to this young lady. So when she gets there, you know, like I said, it felt good that she felt like she could come to me if she had nobody to go to. And before I even got to her, like I said, she came in and said that she, you know, just kind of came over for a hug and she had met my friend. So before I even got to her, she pretty much broke down and started crying. And I mean, she just like literally broke down and bawling, crying, sobbing, snotting. I mean, everything. She's just a mess, okay? And she's struggling. She just got kicked out of her place. She has, you know, an 11 and 12-year-old daughter that's already living with her mom that doesn't want to come live with her. She's got a 5-year-old son. She's, you know, basically packed all of her stuff in her van. She's got a nasty spot on her arm where somebody just shot her up and missed the vein. So now she's got this nasty infection in her arm and her arm's hurting. So she's practically homeless. I mean, she's got a lot going on, okay? So she's breaking down. And the reason why I was giving you the example of the fitness people that are equally yoked when it comes to fitness and they kind of understand each other is that as much pain and suffering and difficulty that she's going through, I can tell that unfortunately and sadly, she's not ready to change, and she's not going to change anytime soon, probably. And I can't predict the future. I'm not God. I don't know what God has planned for her. But it was obvious to me that she's got a long way to go. And it's sad and it's hard to watch because there's so many people's lives involved and it's her life. And I try to offer her advice. I try to console her. I try to, you know, because she kept asking me questions. And unfortunately, I mean, she was even high when she got there, I could tell, you know. But it was just hard to be. It was hard to be there. I was there for her, but it was just hard to just feel that, you know, as much as we're talking and as much as she's telling me, that I could tell she's just not ready to change. And people think that rock bottom is this place that, you know, most people hit or are gonna hit. But man, rock bottom is not what it sounds like, and I know for sure it's different for everybody. And I don't know what she's dealt with up until this point, but I can only imagine she's been through some really horrific things and some really difficult things. But I could also tell that she's not ready to make whatever change is necessary for her to be healthy. She's just not there yet, and I don't know if that moment's coming for her. I don't know if it's ever gonna get there, but I hope it does, and I pray that it does. I tried to, you know, she kept asking me questions about how I, you know, if I went to meetings and just what I did. And I told her, I wish I could explain it, but really it just came down to, I just decided my life was worth something, you know, and I didn't know what at the time, but I knew it was worth something. So I spent 25 years or more of my life thinking that my life had no value whatsoever, that my life had no meaning, that I had no purpose. And that is a very concerning thing that I see in society today, because I feel like a lot of people believe that their life has no meaning, that their life has no value, and that is not a good way to live. But I got that same feeling from her. I feel like she doesn't see value in her life. She doesn't see meaning and purpose in her life. Sorry about that, I had to cut the video. I just got the feeling while I was in her presence that she doesn't value her life. And it's really hard. Like, I was kind of using the fitness as a scenario or a comparison. I can only say that because I've been there. So people that are on a similar fitness journey can see where other people are in their journey. And sadly, because I was on the drug and alcohol journey for so long, I can see people in different stages of their progression. And I can see when people are pointing in the right direction. I can see when people are struggling. And this is not something I enjoy having. Like, it's a mostly useless, I guess, skill or something I've acquired. But I just got the feeling that she wasn't ready. She wasn't pointed in the right direction. Her intentions are really uncertain. And like I said, I know she's been dealing with a lot in her life. We didn't get into all of her background and her history and her story, but I can only imagine it's immensely difficult, extremely challenging. And she doesn't, at the end of all of that, she doesn't value herself. She doesn't value the people around her. And I can only hope and pray that things get better for her. She gets healthy, whatever that means to her, as far as getting mentally fit, and starting to care about herself. I can only hope that happens. It's just really hard to watch when you know somebody's not healthy. And there's been some times over the past couple years where I've met people and known people to not be healthy. There is a heroin addict that comes around from time to time. I first met him a few years ago, and over the years I've tried to help him. I've tried to give him work. I've tried to give him clothes, money. I've tried to find ways to, help bridge the gap from where he is to where I hope he goes. And he's struggling really bad. And every time I see him, sometimes I'll see him, 2 or 3 times in a single week, and there'll be times where I don't see him for months at a time. But I can always tell, if I see him and he's pretty healthy and he looks healthy, and I can always tell those are the times he just got out of jail, when he's been locked up for days or weeks or months at a time, and he has time to get healthy. And as soon as he gets out of jail, he'll come and see me, and I can tell he just got out of jail by the way he carries himself, by the way he's acting. And then, in just a matter of a very short period of time, he is struggling again, and he is struggling very serious, and he doesn't have complete control over his mind, and he starts to do and say crazy things. And I feel awful for him, because I don't know what I can do to help him. I wish I could. I wish there were things that I could do. I wish there were things that I could say, and I try to offer as much advice as I possibly can. But think of it this way. I'm a difficult person to control, okay? And I don't know if that's because I was born this way, if I have some sort of monster that lives inside of me, but I'm a difficult person to control. I don't like being told what to do. I'm hard to control. And when I say that, I don't mean just from the outside, I mean me too. The hardest thing I've ever had to do is try to conquer myself and try to get a handle on my behavior, get a handle on my thoughts, get a handle on my actions, get control of what comes out of my mouth. So getting control of myself, getting control of what comes out of my mouth, I have been the problem the whole time. Drugs and alcohol was just a symptom of me trying to manage and control myself. And telling myself what to do, and you may find the same thing for you, telling myself what time to go to bed, telling myself what time to get up, telling myself what to eat, telling myself not to be on my phone too much, telling myself not to watch too much TV, telling myself not to drink or do too many drugs or take too many pills or roll and smoke too many blunts. Like, controlling and managing myself. Oh, and what comes out of my mouth, that has probably been my biggest challenge my entire life, is controlling what I say, to who I say it, when I say it, how I say it, has been one of the biggest challenges of my life. I can't control me. I'm getting control of me, but I cannot control me. What chance do you think there is of somebody else telling me what to do? Practically none. If I can't control me, nobody else is going to be able to control me. And I'm sure the same goes for you. You probably have some of these same challenges. What you eat, what you drink, when you watch television, how much television you watch, social media, whether or not you exercise, whether or not you eat right. You have a hard time telling yourself what to do. It's impossible for me to tell you what to do. So when somebody is not healthy and they're not in their right mind, in what way could I ever tell this person what to do? Even if I feel like what I know is helpful to them or better for them or maybe useful to them. When these folks find me, I know they're finding me for a reason. I know these people are crossing my path for a reason. But what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to help them? I know they need me, but I don't feel like whatever I say is sufficient. I don't feel like what I do is the right thing. I feel probably just as lost as they do whenever they leave my presence. Like, I feel like while they're there, I'm supposed to be saying or doing something. And then whenever they're gone, my opportunity's gone and I didn't say or do whatever it is I was supposed to say or do. But I also know that whatever I do say and whatever I do while they're there, I have no chance of controlling anything that they say or do. Like, they have to find the answer. They have to feel it. They have to want it. They have to find something bigger. And something I go back to or try to use as an example is when I was extremely suicidal. Part of that was I needed to quit drinking, and I did. And part of that was, somebody told me, I don't know if I saw it or read it or whatever, but somebody told me that whenever you are struggling with depression, which I was at the time, their advice was to set your house on fire. It's like, okay, well, that's some ridiculous advice. But the reason why they say that is, if you are so caught up in yourself that you are depressed, you're constantly worried about the future, you're depressed about the past, you're constantly concerned about yourself and how you feel and how people perceive you and how your life turned out to be a failure or didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to be. All these things, just whatever depression you were feeling, set your house on fire, because while you're putting your house out, while you're getting the garden hose to put your fire out, while you're throwing buckets of water at your fire, you don't have time to think about all that. So the advice really wasn't to literally set your house on fire. It was to do something with your life so big and so important that you didn't have time to think about those things that were worrying you, that gave you anxiety, that gave you stress, that made you feel insufficient or incompetent or not worthy of anything, whether worthy of success or worthy of love or worthy of money or whatever it is that you don't feel like you're worthy of. Just set some big, crazy, nutty goal and just go after it. So I did two things whenever I was at this point in my life. One thing was, I told myself that at that point, my life had been very difficult, painful, and I struggled a lot. And I brought a lot of that on myself. So I'm not saying that this happened to me. I brought a lot of it on myself. But I had a difficult and challenging life up until that point. And I carried a lot around with me. So I told myself at that point that before I killed myself, that if it got to the point where I had that feeling again, and it got so intense that I was considering it, that I would literally just give everything up and just leave for like a year and just go do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, and not play by any rules. Just go. Just get away from this life that I thought was so painful. I'm sure you can hear there's another train coming. Okay, we've had several trends come through tonight, so I keep cutting the video. Not sure where I left that off, but I was just going to leave for a year, go do whatever I wanted, and go explore the world, go see things, go do things, and see if I just happened to trip or fall on whatever it is that I was missing. I didn't know what it was or where it was, but if it wasn't here, maybe it was going to be there. So I thought maybe I would just give up everything. And who knows, that could still happen. I don't know. Before I became suicidal, I was always one of those people that was like, not me. That's not gonna be me. I always thought of myself as more homicidal than suicidal. So I was like, I'm never gonna want to hurt myself. I'm always gonna want to hurt somebody else. Until it comes on to you, trust me, that is not how it works. When it's there and it's present, it is a tough battle to fight, and it's a tough battle to win. And like I said, I survived it through grace and mercy. So I told myself I would just go for a year. If I've been alive on this earth for 36, 37, 38 years, whatever it was at the time, and life had been painful, stressful, difficult, that I would just go. I would just go be free of whatever it is. Or I don't know if I thought I was going to be running from my problems. I don't know, but I was just going to go for a year. And like I said, that could still happen. I don't know if these thoughts come back and I feel like I can't deal with it. I made that commitment to myself that if it came down to it, I would just up and go for a year and just see if life is out there somewhere for me, or something like I said, trip or fall on happiness. The other thing I set out to do was I set a financial goal for retirement. I told myself, I set this kind of crazy financial goal at an age. I said, hey, I'm gonna save, not make, but I'm gonna save this amount of money before I get to this age. And fortunately, I've been able to do that. And then once you get there, you kind of realize that's, things change. But once I got to that point, so many things had changed for me in my life that I realized that I wasn't quite done, and I still have unfinished business and work I need to do. But that was a several year process, and I learned so much during that time. Being sober, my life changed. Not being suicidal, my life changed. There were a lot of things that changed in my life during that same time, so that by the time I got to this goal that I set, my outlook on life had changed. My goals have changed. There's other things I want to do. There's other things I want to accomplish. There's other things I want to achieve. I found value in things that I didn't find value in before. So my perspective and outlook on life has changed in that amount of time. So yes, even though I reached that goal, and I keep pushing that goal back and keep extending it, right now I've got it about 2 years out. I've got it at X amount of dollars. Thanks to the economy, money's changed quite a bit in the past couple of years. So when you start looking at that money, you're like, maybe it's not going to last quite as long as I thought. So I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet as a person. I'm not there financially. I'm not there yet. And I'm going to keep pushing that goal out and setting new goals and setting new standards for myself. And like I said, there's things that I want to achieve and accomplish, and I've set other goals outside of that. But it's advice that I would give to anybody that's struggling, that's had difficulty, if you've had a difficult life, or if you've had some challenges, or if things have not worked out to this point in your life the way you want them to. Do a couple things. One, set your house on fire. Set some big, crazy, nutty ass goals that are the only thing that matter to you. They have to be the only thing that matter to you. You cannot have time to think or do anything else that doesn't pertain to this. And unfortunately, you're gonna, people in your family are going to be mad at you. Your friends, you're probably going to lose some friends because they're not going to understand. Things are going to change in your life. You might have to change jobs. You might have to move. There's things you're going to have to do to make this one thing happen. But I promise you, set this goal, make this thing happen. And I promise you, do not make this a simple goal. Do not make this easy. This needs to be complex. It needs to be something that feels and looks and appears to be unachievable from your perspective, but it needs to be something that other people have done. So like I said, whenever I set my financial goal and my date, my year goal, I set a goal that other people have been able to get to. So I knew that at the time it was 40. So when I got to 40, I needed X amount of dollars. And I asked myself, has anybody that's ever been 40 had this much money? The answer was yes. So it was impossible for me at the time, but it had been done who knows how many times throughout the history of mankind. So it was doable. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that if anybody could figure it out, I could figure it out. You need to do that same thing. Set some big, crazy, nutty ass goal, and it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be financial for you. It can be physical. It can be a weight loss journey. It can be a weight gain journey. It can be building a car. It can be anything. Set some nutty, crazy ass goal that you're obsessed with. It needs to possess your entire being until you achieve that goal. And then the other thing is, you don't need necessarily a plan B. You need while I'm working on this, if I get to a point where I feel like I'm going to hurt myself, I need to have a pressure release valve. Okay, so my pressure release valve is escaping, is getting away from things, getting away from scenarios. We moved around a lot as I was a kid, so I think that may be some of the reason why I don't get super attached to certain things in certain places. So to me, my thing was, I'm just going to go. Okay, so I don't know what your thing is, but you need a pressure release valve. You need to pursue this goal like it's the only thing on the planet to you. This needs to be so important. It's like your house is on fire and you're trying to put it out. It needs to consume you as a human being. And for me, I had to unplug my television. I had to unplug my television and focus solely on this. So do whatever you have to do, and also get rid of whatever it is you have to get rid of in your life to make this thing happen, but you need to make this thing happen. And then you need a pressure release valve. Whatever your pressure release valve is, you need to have a strategy that whenever it gets too much, whenever it gets too hard, whenever you've had too much, or whenever those demons come for you, and they will come for you. I promise they will come for you. When these demons come for you, you need to have a pressure release valve. Have a friend, have a family member, have a strategy, have a place that you go, have a pressure release valve. I promise you, you're gonna need it. Okay, so I've been rambling for too long tonight. I love you guys. I didn't get to like any of my notes. We'll do that next time. I love you guys. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And if there's something that I'm missing, something you guys want to hear about, if I'm talking too much, if I'm rambling too much, I appreciate the feedback. So anything you guys want to hear about, anything you don't want to hear about, let me know. Like I said, I make these videos for me so I can watch them in the future, but I also make them for you because I hope they bring you some value or make a difference for you. So I love you guys. We'll see you next week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.